Hello and welcome to Marketing Monday. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us today. We are super excited. You could probably also hear my dog, who's also super excited to be talking about social media today.
Yeah, that's your dog.
Yeah. We have the amazing Paige Jackson and the awesome Samantha Gasson here joining me today. Samantha and Paige, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm going to let Paige go first, then I'll go after Paige.
Yeah. So my name is Paige Jackson. My husband and I farm full-time in North Durham. We have a larger property out in Ridgemont. We raise pastured pork, grass-fed beef, as well as pastured poultry, and we do meat birds as well as layers. And then we also do a small herd of dairy cows. That's it.
All right, so my name is Samantha Gasson, and I am part of FACT's Humane Farming Team. FACT, or the Food Animal Concerns Trust, is a national nonprofit organization that's headquartered in Illinois. We work to ensure that all food-producing animals are raised in a humane and healthy manner. We accomplish this by supporting humane farmers, promoting policies that make food from animals safe and healthy to eat, and help consumers make informed food choices.
Awesome. Yay. Everybody's from Durham today. It's fabulous.
Yeah, we're all Durhamites. That's right.
So much.
Go Durham.
Yay. Go Bulls.
Yeah, go Bulls. That's right. I think the Durham's mascot being a bull is perfect for Paige and myself because we both are obsessed with dairy cows. So it's
absolutely. That's awesome. Well, before we get started with some awesome social media questions, I'm going to say a thank you to Mana Pro for sponsoring Marketing Monday today. And they have a quick 1-minute video just to say thank you. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Champions, colleagues,
roommates,
and personal trainers.
Whatever role they play,
they're an important part of our lives.
In their quiet way,
and their not so quiet way.
They keep us young.
On our feet,
on the go.
They pull us back to nature.
And push us toward the next adventure.
And as much as we count on them,
they count on us all the more.
To nurture their lives.
With the same commitment.
To protecting them.
Helping them grow.
And thrive.
Treating them.
As well as they treat us. By giving them a little more of our lives. Because no matter what role they play, out here
or in here,
we're here to make their lives the best they can be.
Mana Pro, nurturing life.
Awesome. Thank you for sticking through that. That is Mana Pro. Thank you to them for sponsoring our Marketing Mondays today and for featuring heritage breeds. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, let's get into social media. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all of those things that, it's hard to keep up with. I'm young and I still can't keep up with all of them.
Yeah. I think the expectation is like, you're young, so you're doing all the platforms that exist. So
that's right. I would never sleep if I was on every single platform.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally a job now. Like, yeah, it's a job. So it's a lot of work.
Absolutely. Yes. Especially for businesses. So, just my recommendation would be like, pick one, start with one, and then expand.
I fully support that. I think that's the best suggestion ever. So start with one. You gotta start somewhere.
Right. Yeah. You can be on all of them.
So if you were to pick one, which one would it be, Brittany and Paige? because I feel like both of you, I have a lot to learn in this session. So I'm going to be doing a lot of listening and probably a lot of question asking just because it's in my nature and I can't help it. So if you had to pick one social media, which would it be? Paige, you first.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, this is kind of a trick question because Facebook and Instagram are intertwined. So I feel like I would say Facebook because Facebook is like the yellow pages of our generation. Or I mean,
Yes.
yeah, Facebook is like the yellow pages of our. I feel like that's a fair statement. So, you know, but a lot of businesses make the mistake of just having a Facebook page and not a website. So Facebook is specifically for social media. And so when you're looking at it that way, then I would say Facebook will probably give you more leverage. And especially, like I said, this is a trick question because if your Facebook and your Instagram are connected, they kind of act as one platform, but there are different nuances in each one. So even though Facebook and Instagram work together, they still have different features. So Facebook, like Mark Zuckerberg came out with an announcement, I mean, years ago, like this is not new news. But that like he was making a shift for Facebook because he wanted it to be more about community building. And so that's why like groups are really big on Facebook. And so if you have a niche, then it's really smart to also like have a group tied along with your business page because then people who are like your dedicated followers. I know that everyone loves to use the word tribe. Like if that's your tribe, then you can really like cultivate a great community in Facebook and like that content is being really favored. But then Instagram, I mean, Instagram has so many facets too because it's like pictures and video and, you know, live content. But yeah, that was a really long answer. That
It was good. It was really good. It's confusing. And would you so when you think about social media, do you also put YouTube into that, or would you consider YouTube to be like a totally different entity?
No, so I would say YouTube is a totally different entity. And knowing what I know now, like I picked Facebook, but YouTube is really like, I mean, YouTube is a beast in itself. And I just really think that YouTube is the new wave of, I would say, like content entertainment as we know it. And so I think you really have to pick a platform based on your personality as well. So if you are like, I just want to educate and I just want to teach people all the things, like, I mean, absolutely lead with education. You can never go wrong on any of those platforms. But I think if you're wanting to do more of like brand visibility type stuff, you know, like YouTube could be really good for that and it's free. Like if SEO really freaks you out, like trying to do search engine optimization, then go to YouTube because the search engine for YouTube is like insane. You will get so much visibility on your content with your title alone because it's still somewhat of like an untapped market. So, but again, like if we're talking to people that are farmers, I just don't want to set like an unrealistic expectation for people. Like because the thing about YouTube is, which is why, and this is full disclosure, like we have not like gone deep in the tunnels of YouTube because I don't have someone who is filming for me. And everyone's like, just do it yourself. Just take your camera and film it. You know, people are going to love it. And it's like, yeah, but that's still a full-time job. So if you want to hire an intern to do that, man, go for it and do it. Because I think that the payoff is huge. And I think it would really benefit you and serve you well if you have the time to do it. But
So how long does a YouTube video have to be? Is there like a good length, or is it something you like, you know, you do the reels for Instagram, and they're sort of short.
They are. Yeah, so YouTube now has a feature called Shorts, and you can totally and again, I'm a big fan of repurposing content because that's another platform that, again, the people on YouTube may not necessarily be the same people on your Facebook page. So you're really gonna like cater to a different audience. So when I have it in me, I'm gonna repurpose every single reel that I've created on Instagram, and I'm gonna put.
You've got some good ones.
but because YouTube has now created this feature for reels, or shorts, it's brilliant, and it's keeping people on YouTube longer. So, and I've seen people do like an hour-long YouTube video, and I've seen people do 10-minute long YouTube videos, and I think both are fantastic. I would say a sweet spot of 10 minutes is great, because if you can, if your goal is to create this television series, you don't want to do too much. And I think there becomes a lot of pressure in editing as well. So if you can just record the content, hire someone to edit for you, and get on a good system, I'd say 10 minutes is
okay.
Perfect.
This is all good stuff. My daughter has been doing reels for the farm, and so I'm thinking of how can I get her to do other things for me.
So she just needs to upload those same things to YouTube. Upload the same things to YouTube, and you will see it with consistency. You'll definitely see growth, and you'll see, just more visibility on what you're doing, which is always great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, consistency is key. You got to keep doing it. You can't just be like, I got a Facebook page now, and never post to it.
Yeah. It's tough, but yeah, people get used to seeing you. And and I would say even more on YouTube, I think there's more of a dedicated following, because people will subscribe to your channels on YouTube. And so you have to think of, I consider YouTube more like TV. It's the new television, really. We don't really watch a lot of TV, but we will watch YouTube because we're trying to learn something. And, people get very invested, and they're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a week. What's happening?
Are you okay?
It's like, are you okay?
Well, there's this guy, and I just discovered him, and he's a foster dad. I think he's from Uganda originally. I can't remember his name, but anyway, isn't that terrible? But I like to follow him because he's a foster dad, and then he took on these 2 little babies, and then I didn't hear anything about the babies. I'm like, what happened to the babies? And then finally, I guess enough people asked him that he told us what happened to the babies. He's like, he only had them for a week or 2. And then they went back to, I don't know, they went back to their parents or whatever.
You become so invested. And it's invested. And I feel like you have to be ready to commit. And that's what, I don't, maybe one day. I'm just not there yet where I'm ready for people to be like, what happened to your cow? I just really need to know. I want to see, you have to be committed to entertaining at that point. And that's why I think choose your platform based on what you can manage and what type of content you want to create. You gotta think about that. So
yeah,
absolutely. Well, Facebook is also based on your audience. So if you have an older audience, Facebook makes sense. And if you have a younger audience, Instagram's really good with connecting with them.
For sure. Yeah. I think I think that's very accurate. But so one platform that I have not really, I feel like we're jumping all over the place, but that I haven't really tapped into is TikTok. I've done a couple of, videos on TikTok, but not consistently. But man, and here's why. I have a reason why. So I'm a very strategic thinker, and so if I do something, it's almost like I compete with myself on oh, I gotta do the best, you know? And if I can't, then what's the point? And then when I do the best, I'm like, okay, I'm done, you know? So TikTok is one of those things where, like, I watch TikToks. I'm kind of in there enough to know about it. I've studied it. And I feel like I have not found my rhythm with TikTok. As in, like, I have not figured out how I want to approach it. Because I think when people hear TikTok, and I would say for sure older people, they automatically assume that they have to be like twerking and, you know, jumping and jabbing and doing all types of stuff. And it's like, actually, you don't, you know, but when TikTok first came out, it was this platform that was really just like music geared, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's pretty, isn't that correct? That's the origin of TikTok. It was like music, and then you could, you know, and then it evolved into people like doing trending dances. But now TikTok, the thing about TikTok, which makes it so unique, is it's giving you sound bites of information. And so I've seen people with really great TikToks where they're just sitting in front of just like this, like sitting and they're talking. And it's like, whoa, that's not intimidating. Like, I can do that. But you have to really think through how you're going to do that and how you're going to reach your audience. And that's why I haven't committed.
So how would approaching TikTok be different than approaching making a reel?
I don't think there's any difference, actually.
Okay.
It's not. It's really not, because when you look at the time is exactly the same.
So when you're posting, when you're doing a reel, and then I mean TikTok, I've seen people, they can post their TikTok onto their Instagram. Can you do it vice versa?
Yeah, you can. So you have to link. You just have to link connect the platforms, and that's it. And that's
so
like
what you could do is you could do a reel and it come up on Instagram, and then you link it to Facebook, and then you also link it to TikTok.
You could, yeah, you could do that. And I know for sure Facebook has that feature. So if your Facebook is linked to Instagram, Facebook now has a feed specifically dedicated to Reels. You just have to make sure that they're talking to each other. So your Facebook automatically can connect your Reels, and then your TikToks. Yeah, I have definitely shared a TikTok from TikTok to Instagram for sure. Like, I've done that. And I don't know if there's like a preference on where it's created in order for you to be able to share it, but you can always download it and then reshare it. And then the same thing goes for YouTube. Like, I'm pretty sure you can't share from Instagram to YouTube, but you can download it and you can repurpose it and share it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's good to know. Well, I'm learning so much. This is amazing. And Paige, we talk all the time, and I've never learned this much from them.
Well, you just gotta ask me questions.
Well, I'm gonna bring it back. So, how easy is it for someone to set up a business account on a social media platform?
Oh, super easy. Super easy. So this is something that I see a lot of businesses doing, and they don't know that they're doing it. So there is a difference between a business account and a personal account. So what I've seen is businesses create personal accounts thinking that they're for their business. So it's like, hey, I want to start a business. Let me make a Facebook account. But you're messing up. So the first thing you need to do is, there's a business platform, which I could look it up right now. I think you type in business. I'm going to type it in right now. Business.facebook, maybe? Yep. So you type in business.facebook.com. And that's where you need to go in order to start a business page. So, and I remember when I first learned about this, I was like, wait a minute. Facebook has like a whole nother world. Like, because once you get into like your Facebook ads, I mean, it's really like getting a degree. Like, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. So, but that's a whole nother talk for another day. But it is very easy to set up a business account for Facebook. And when you set up your business account, that really helps you, because Facebook views you differently. It's not like they're viewing you as a personal account. They're now giving you like the flag, notifying people that you're a business. When people will search for you, you come up. And then your tag, like, you know how on Instagram you have the @, Food Lion or whatever. You know, that can then be linked to your business page. And it's very, very simple. All you need to do is just go to business.facebook, and it'll walk you through all of the steps on how to do it.
So what if you started your Facebook business account like years and years and years and years ago? Like I've only ever been on social media because of my business. So I started my Facebook page, personal page, so I could have an additional page to it. But I don't know that I necessarily set it up as a business page. Has it always been that way, or is this something new? Should I go back and look at the way I've got it set up?
Yeah, I would go back and look at that.
And if can you switch it?
Can you switch
Or
it?
when I
Yeah.
start
I've had this question before, and I believe that, and this is years ago since I've done this, but I want to say Facebook has changed their settings on this, and you have to create a business account. Now, say you created a business account and you were just starting out and you didn't really know what you were doing, and like you had like an awful name or something. What Facebook will allow you to do is but you own that Facebook page. You can claim the ownership of that business page and merge it with your business account.
Okay.
So, but you have to have a business account because business and personal are not the same thing. So I would go back and I would double check, because like I said, if your page is a personal page and not a business page, Facebook is not going to talk to you or recognize you in the same way that they would a personal page. And you want to be recognized as a business because you want to be able to sell things. You want to be able to have people search for you, look at your hours, contact you, message you. If you are viewed as a personal page, then it's more of like you're a friend. Like you're my friend on Facebook. I'm not recognizing you as a business. I'm recognizing you as a friend, and that's not the same thing.
So I think it is a business. I'm not sure. I just did it so long ago. I just don't remember.
Yeah, I would double check. And again, like I said, those features that I mentioned with like sharing content on various platforms, you can't do that unless you are a business. You have to be
a business because I can share between Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. All right, then you're probably a business then. But I would double check.
I will double check. I'm going to double check.
Yeah.
Now you don't need a separate one for Instagram or YouTube.
Right. Yeah. That's not the same thing. Oh wait, Sam, I think you're frozen.
Oh no.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
I can see you guys. Well, actually, I can't see you, Paige. You're twirling. Yeah, and Brittany's twirling. Now you guys are all back.
Okay. I guess we all froze at the same time. Sorry.
We must have. It's Monday internet time. Anything could happen. So, Paige, do you have any tips for people setting up their first business channels?
Yeah, I do. So if you're setting up your business channels, I would say make sure that your sizes for your banners are correct. And meaning like, so there's a couple of different, and it does matter. Some people will be like, well, I can just use this one 250 by 250 square for everything. No, you cannot. Okay, you cannot. You will try to upload that as your cover banner on your business page, and it'll look like crap. So don't do that. Okay. There's you'll have your profile, which normally this will be like your logo, but then you also will then have, and I'm talking about Facebook, I'm starting with Facebook, and then you'll have an option to upload a cover. And so this cover can really act as an announcement banner for you. So if you're a new business, put your tagline on there, put your hours on there, maybe like a special that you want to promote. Utilize this to the best of your ability. I feel like I see a lot of businesses that will put up something just to put it up there. My advice would be to think about that, because this is something that's really going to leverage you. This is your first impression for many people, because think about Facebook as the yellow pages, if you're thinking about it that way, then what business that is in the yellow pages is going to catch your attention? Not the one that's like has something that has nothing to do with their business, right? Like the business in the yellow pages that's going to catch your attention is the one that has bold graphics, a clear message, mission statement, brand identity, like those things matter on social media. So I would say, so setting that up, it's a good idea. And the sizes, these sizes can be found on Google. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like a bazillion links on Pinterest that will show you the exact sizing requirements. Like if you're using something like Canva, even, I want to say Canva even has like pre-made templates for all of these things. Use it. Like these are things that did not exist a long time ago, but they do now, and just use it. Like totally use those things. And yeah, so I would also advise you that if you start with Facebook, be sure to link it to your Instagram, because that is helping you on time as well as visibility, because you're sharing one thing to one platform, you're sharing it to another, and it's so helpful. That's kind of all I got. Oh, and then find your voice, find your voice. Like, don't feel pressured to do what everyone else is doing. Like I said, I'm not on TikTok faithfully because I'm still trying to figure out my way. So don't rush into a platform just because you feel like you need to be on there. Like, if you get on a platform, be on that platform because you have something that you want to say, and think through your strategy before you just get on there.
Yes. Right. Do not say have a strategy more enough. Like,
yeah, that's so important.
People always like, Brittany, I've got a Facebook page now. And I'm like, well, what are you going to post? What do you want to say? What's your plan? Like,
any ideas?
So Paige, one thing I've always thought is really interesting about you is like, and why you know so much about social media. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I used to work
not just like some farmer who's figured out social media. You actually, know your stuff.
Yeah. So I actually used to do this for a job. I used to work as a social media marketer and a strategist as well. So like, I started off as a strategist and like on the creative team. So kind of coming up with like, ways that we could leverage our message to our audience. And then that evolved into being an actual like social media manager, where I managed all the platforms. And then that evolved into being more of a project manager and like overseeing all campaign development on behalf of brands. So yeah, I kind of know a little bit of stuff. Just a little bit. And but sometimes I don't like telling people that, because then people will be like, are you doing all the things that you just told me to do? So, I mean, but one thing, Brittany, you had asked about was like, strategy. And man, strategy is so important. And I say this all the time. Like, if I was doing my job for someone else, I would be doing it so differently. Like, so differently. I would be looking at the visual aesthetics. I would, have my copy laid out. I would have my content calendar, and then I would be turning it in, because, when you're working, I'm thinking about starting out as a strategist, you have to submit that for review, right? So we would like come up with all of the plan in conjunction with like what was happening with the sales calendar, or, just like what we needed to promote, right? So say you're a produce farmer and you know that your tomatoes are going to be in season. Well, if you know your tomatoes are going to be in season, then it would behoove you to start planning all of the things that you can talk about with your tomatoes, right? So, okay, this is the backstory of your tomatoes. That's a bunch of content right there, Then when you have your tomatoes, change your banner. Make sure people know like the tomatoes are in stock. Like, make sure you get them in. And then, of course, I know people are not gonna like me saying this, but recipes. Everyone loves recipes. And that can be a whole book, a book on tomatoes. And like right now, I'll now use a more applicable for livestock, chickens, and eggs. Like, this is egg season right now. So if I was using my strategy hat and I was working for someone else, I would have a whole content calendar, not the whole thing, but a lot of the key content that I would focus on would be eggs, because we're trying to move eggs right now. And so if I want for my customer to buy more eggs, I need to have a strategy on social media, because social media is really just your outlet, right? Like social media is just you being able to project and talk to your customer base. So yeah, so I definitely would think strategically and like, how can I share more about eggs, educating the consumer about how to buy quality eggs, and then also like, well, now what do you do with all these eggs? How do you store your eggs? Like one of them, I feel like I'm rambling, so please stop me at any point.
No, I think this is good because that's
This is
like
awesome.
right now it's egg season. So in my newsletter, every single week, I've got an egg recipe that goes out, and some
Good.
really cute ones too. Some really, really cute
Yeah,
ones.
you totally should. And and then there's always the question of like, well, how do I store my eggs? And you think that everyone knows these answers to these questions, but it's like, well, I probably should tell you about this, right? Like I was just this weekend, I was selling eggs, and everyone's like, well, oh, these are farm fresh eggs. I don't have to wash these, right? And I'm like, well, they've been in the refrigerator, and once your eggs are in the refrigerator, you're going to want to keep them in the fridge, and again, but there's a disconnect with education. And so when I'm engaging with customers, I'm learning that, and I'm like, oh man, you guys don't know this, and you don't know it because you're not a farmer. So it's but I can teach you. Like all I need to do is just put an egg in the fridge and show you how it starts to sweat, and explain we're putting our eggs in the fridge because we have over 250 layers. Like this is about safety at this point, like we're trying to preserve what we have. We can't just leave eggs hanging out on the farm. So but it's like that's an opportunity to educate. That's an opportunity to have people to come into your world, and then they're probably going to want to buy 24 eggs opposed to one. So yeah.
Yeah, I always find that people don't understand how fresh the eggs are and how long eggs last.
Yes. Yep, that's true. All the time. That question never fails. People will ask that at least every time someone buys. A new person buying eggs from us will always ask that question.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, what they say is, oh, I don't eat a dozen eggs in a week. I'm like, well, can you eat a dozen eggs in a month or 2 months? Because really, that's how long these eggs are going to last.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not going to go bad tomorrow.
Like, these are not vegetables.
No, they're not. And even preserving eggs. Like I learned last season about preserving eggs because I had never preserved eggs before.
So a friend of mine, she actually writes my recipes for my newsletter, and she has this really great recipe for a cured egg. Well, 2 different recipes for cured egg yolks.
Oh yes.
One's in soy sauce. I'll share it with you. One of them's in soy sauce.
I tried that. I did it in beef. Yeah, I did. So it's like salt, sugar, and then you cover the yolk, and then it gets like a solid. It's like a solid mass, and you can grate it. And
well, she did that, but then she also did one with soy sauce.
Oh,
so
okay.
She did it in soy sauce. So it's sort of the soy sauce, I guess, like, I don't know how it does it. I'm sure it's osmosis, whatever ends up getting in there. But then it's still running on the inside, so you can put it on ramen or on rice.
Oh,
I'm having that tonight. That's what we're doing tonight. I'm so excited.
I would be interested in that recipe. That sounds. I love a good.
I would definitely send it to you. But the other one was a salt recipe for that. But anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry. Talk about digressing. Sorry.
It's after lunch, you're just like,
I know.
This happens every time. I'm just like, oh, let's talk about food all the time. I'm so hungry.
Someone should start a Facebook Live for that, because I would be on that. That would be fun.
Yes. We'll just call it Lunch and Learns. We'll all be eating.
There you go. I love it. We actually have a couple of questions, Brittany, in the chat.
Oh, yes. Let's get to some questions. Hi, Lila. Thanks for joining us today. We're glad you're here. Lila says, I like to use my Facebook page to share tips about raising chickens. That's fantastic. Do you have any tips?
Do I have any tips about sharing on Facebook? I would say I would just want to encourage you, because that's brilliant. Like, people want to learn, and the more that you can share your knowledge of like what you know, I think that you're engaging your audience, you're entertaining them, but in a way that is going to carry weight. What I mean by that is, like, someone's going to want to follow you because you're teaching them about on moderation. And I just think that that's brilliant because, you know, you may share something that this other person who's just maybe sharing really pretty pictures of chickens and they have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't really want to follow that person. They may have nice pictures, but I'm going to keep coming back to your page because you're actually teaching me something. So I think that's great. And maybe another tip is maybe you could build up enough, you know, of an audience where you could start hosting classes to teach people, you know, and keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. People are all about some backyard flocks right now.
Absolutely.
I know, right?
Keep up the good work, Lila. That's really exciting.
Good job, Lila.
Hi, Felicia. Thanks for joining us today. We're glad you're here. Felicia says, do you use Pinterest as a marketing platform?
Okay, so Pinterest. Listen, I'm going to tell you about Pinterest, okay? I don't use Pinterest. However, Pinterest is one of the most underrated platforms, and especially for if you have a predominantly women-based business. I say, so let's just talk about Pinterest. Because I used to work in the beauty space, so I know about Pinterest, and I know the weight that Pinterest carries because women like to shop. But not only do women like to shop, but they really like to go on Pinterest and then pin things because it's like, oh man, like this is a great recipe. I could save this for later. So I would say that if your niche is like recipes or anything that's food related, or anything that's just really going to speak to women, like you, I think the stats are like 80% of the audience there. And I'm not saying men don't use Pinterest, but it's a very heavily based platform for women. And you can really, really do some great marketing damage if you do it in the right way. But again, Pinterest requires consistency, meaning not only do you need to be creating boards and pins, but you also need to be liking, you need to be engaging. You kind of have to really keep that momentum going on Pinterest in order to have a presence on Pinterest. So hopefully that was helpful.
That is helpful. It's almost like a search engine these days. People use it that way.
Yeah, it really is. You can do ads on Pinterest too. Like you can run ads on Pinterest.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's got a huge growing market. We're looking at trying to break into it just because your content has such a longer life there.
It does. It really does. And and it only takes someone liking your post, like that's all it takes. So it's not like a like, but it, like you said, it has more longevity. So.
Yeah, so like with Facebook and Twitter, like it's you constantly have to be posting and then it goes away. Well, it doesn't go away, but people don't look at anything that's older than like 3 days. So.
Yeah. But Pinterest, it's like once it's out there, it's there. And if I'm searching, for a recipe, and that's why I mean, personally, I have boards for recipes because why not, but I definitely could see how that could just like go over so well in so many different ways with consistency on the platform.
Absolutely. People have tons of boards for homesteading, like how to raise chickens, how to raise pigs, how to do all sorts of stuff. So,
I have boards for farmers market display ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Or a board, one board.
Yeah, but that's not a board that anyone else is going to follow.
No, that's a personal board.
I just used it. Oh, I've never.
I thought that's what you were talking about. So I was like,
just for me.
Okay.
I'll share it. Another time.
Somebody created that content just for you, though. Like, so.
I wasn't trying to like knock you and say that. I think that's a great.
Oh, I hear you, Paige.
I was like, I don't know if anyone else is gonna want to follow that, Sam.
I've always viewed Pinterest as like a way to just like it's almost like a folder, where you see things you like,
creative ideas,
collect them, and then you have. I guess I'm using the wrong term. Maybe it's not a board. I have a thing that I've got that saved all of the ideas I've got for farmers market displays.
Yeah. Hey, someone just said I want to follow your farmers market board. I need to.
That's awesome.
Okay, let me just close my mouth because apparently people want to follow your farmers market board.
Paige.
But it's great if you're a designer, if you like to arrange flowers, like you
Oh,
could do
yeah.
all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're doing farmer to farmer today, so you know
think
some
it's
people
great.
might want your.
I've seen people create board contests. Like whoever can create like the most creative board for, I don't know, like something, then they would like win. But that's really a good way to it's gonna sound sneaky, but that's a really good way to get your followers to like boost your page, really, because it's like they're creating more boards and pins and likes, and that's really growing you. So that's another creative thing you can do. I mean, unless you want to do like a rival farmers market. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh no, this
Yeah.
is a good point though.
Joko also says, seriously though, we need more ideas for farmers market displays for frozen meat. It is so hard to pull people in when your product has to be in a cooler.
This is true.
Oh my God, this is so true. And I've been selling at a farmer's market for 11 years. This is my 11th year. And I have, yeah, and Brittany actually comes to my farmer's market. So, but it's hard. It's really hard. You've got to figure out a way to pull people in. And I do that through, I have chalkboards and I painted stuff. I mean, I really literally have a sheep that's painted on a piece of wood that the kids come up and kiss. And well, that's actually probably not a good thing. I probably shouldn't tell people that. But
that's real cute.
Oh, no, that's really cute. No, I agree. I think that's a challenge, and we don't do farmers markets anymore, but I definitely thought through that, especially when COVID came, and it was like no one wanted to touch anything. So we ended up bringing, because we were working a market during that time, and we had to drive our trailer everywhere, and so I was like, I think maybe the best idea is just to do displays, like to just do a display, because the more you handle the product, it'll the seals will break. So I, not asking advice, but Noka Farm, I will lend this to you. I would say getting prints made and just doing a nice display of like quality prints, like of your product. Like that'll go so well. And do people really need to see the steak? I mean, I get some people may want to see the marble, but not every person needs to see it. If they want the product, they want the product. And a chicken is a chicken. So if I'm going to show you a picture that's like a nice fancy photo of a cooked picture, you're getting a frozen product. I don't necessarily think that it's necessary to have everything out and then damage the seals on my product. So that was something that like I thought through when we were doing markets. Like just having printed pictures is really easier.
So I've never done pictures. I do drawings. So I've got, I have these chalkboard signs on either side. I've got crates, and then I do chalkboard paintings. So like all of the lettering is done hand lettering. It's a bit messy, but then I do like flowers and all this kind of stuff. And then I have two big signs at the front of my booth, because I found, especially with COVID, and then you're at the farmers market, you're getting moved around a lot because people are, anyway, it happened during COVID. It hasn't really happened at any other time, but having those, it's like my booth is very recognizable. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of stuff to it. Wouldn't you say, Brittany? You've seen my display before. It's just like,
yeah. Well, you're also an artist, so it's very beautiful.
If I was an artist, Ground be drawn too. Oh, we also have that skill set. We're not as gifted as you, Sam.
I think signs are a good way to sort of step up your meets. And I've tried a lot of different things. Like if I buy something at the beginning of market from somebody, then like some flowers or something, I'll put them on. I used to do that. I put them on my table, but then everybody wants to buy them. So then it's like, so I always make sure that I'm in between people. It's not working out quite so well, but I have a really good friend that I always sell next to, and she's a flower person. So people are always drawn in by her flowers, and then that I get sort of sucked into it as well, because then they're curious about my signs, so then they come into my booth as well.
I love that. I think that's great. great idea.
Strategy behind farmers markets.
Let's see. Felicia says, I have used photos of the farm and animals. I also bake cookies and breads and cut flowers for my home or along the road on the way to the market.
Oh, those are great ideas.
That's a really good. Yeah,
Really
very
good
good.
ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
I would stop for a cookie. That's great.
Me too.
That's perfect. Thank you for sharing those awesome ideas, Felicia. That's wonderful. Let's see. We'll bring it back to social media. Are there any helpful resources for people that you recommend using?
For social media?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's an app called Later, and it's great. It's what you can do. Here, I can send it. But it's a social media app. So actually, I don't know if you can pull it up on your computer.
I can try.
But oh yeah, I mean, no, you can pull up the website. It's just later.com. And this is an Instagram app, but I really like it because you can use it to kind of have a visual of what's going, if you care about like what your wall is going to look like. Because if you open up your phone, you're only going to see, what is it, like 9 squares at a time for Instagram. Some people really care about those 9 squares, and they want to make sure whether it's like the colors are good or the words are, you can see them well, vibrant. I really like apps like this, like Later, because it helps you to be able to see what's going out before it posts. So if you want to rearrange something, kind of like a checkerboard, you can do that, and it helps you to be able to say like, okay, like, so, and this is something, now that we're talking to farmers, I don't mind sharing this with you because you will understand. I try really hard, if we're going to do something that has to do with like processing an animal or, like on farm harvest or whatever, I try to be sensitive to that, if I'm going to like process a chicken and like showcase like, hey, this is how you would harvest a bird. I also don't want to have a picture of a live chicken right next to that.
Yeah.
Because then people will be like, oh my goodness, and even though like, yeah, I'm a farmer and I understand like what we're doing and how this goes, I still want to make sure that when I'm sharing content that I'm aware of that. And sometimes I have to like remind my husband, like mostly I manage our page, but sometimes he'll like want to show something and I'm like, okay, but you got to think about what you're posting, like before you do it. Because yeah, like you just have to be sensitive to that type of thing. So apps like Later really help because then you can really like visually see like, okay, I want to share these things, but let me make sure that I'm appropriately sharing at the right times. So
It's a great resource.
There's also, and I learned this from Paige at another, she did a webinar for Fact, which if you guys are interested in looking at that was a really good one. I can probably put a link in the chat, so comments. Can I comment, Brittany?
Put it in the chat and I'll throw it up for everybody.
All right. No, I'm not sure that I can even put anything in the chat because I don't see a chat option.
Okay.
Well,
we'll
share it with.
It's on the left-hand side, it says private chat. You have to click the top.
Oh, I have to put in private chat. Okay.
You can also find it at the Fact website.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's on. It's the way we're doing our website now is really confusing. It's actually, I think you have to go to our YouTube channel to see it. But Paige did a really good job, and I loved the way you presented all that material, and I loved all your visuals and everything. But one of the things you said in there, you talked about Linktree or linked tree. Can you go into that?
Oh yeah,
that's a good one. So Linktree is another resource that you can add to your bio on social media, specifically Instagram. But say you want to be able to share your shop, you want to be able to share a webinar that you're going to be on, you want to be able to share, like a couple of things. But you don't want to just like post a link that no one can actually click on. If you use a website called Linktree, you can embed all of those links on your Linktree, and then people can just click on that and find it. So it's a good one. There's another one, I can't think of it. but you have to embed it to your website. But it's another one that kind of does something similar. Brittany, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like if you click on the like boxes on Instagram, it'll take you to direct links. I cannot think of the name.
Oh, I don't remember. I always use Linktree because it's so easy.
There's another one. Let me see if I can find it. But there's another one that.
And what's really cool about Linktree is if you've got a Canva account, and you can get a free account from Canva, you can really make your Linktree landing page look really nice. Because sometimes the Linktree, it sort of looks sort of generic and it's not really very pretty. You can do a really nice one through Canva and really personalize it a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I always recommend Canva. It's really easy for people to design stuff. It's free.
Yes. I would totally recommend Canva. So that's a resource that everyone should use. It's like a really great Photoshop, but not as complicated as Photoshop. So yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And
absolutely. That's fantastic.
And another tip I would say is don't worry about, I think some people can get really hung up in making everything look super pretty all the time. And I get that because I too like for things to look good. But I think you also want for things to look authentic as well. So if you don't have professional photos of all of your like stuff, like that's okay. Because I think that there's an element of realness that people would really appreciate, and it doesn't always have to be like a super polished headshot, you know. So yeah, just don't get in your head like that all the time.
Be authentic, be true to yourself, be transparent. You know, people respect those things.
Yep.
I think we have one more question. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us today. Sarah says, how do you keep the ideas for what to post coming as a farmer? I raise rabbits and other livestock, and at times when I have no shows or cute babies, I struggle to come up with ideas on what to post when my critters are essentially just doing nothing but eating and pooping for a few weeks.
I say educate. I think education, we kind of touched on this briefly, but I just don't think that people are tuned in with what happens during the seasons of being a farmer. And I feel like that's kind of ever growing and ever changing. And I just feel like that's a card that you can play over and over again. And it just, you know, maybe you're just packaging it in a different way. But the ideas that I would say the bulk of the ideas that I have are coming from a place of, I just need to tell people about this because, you know, like I'm not a first generational farmer. And so a lot of the things that I'm learning them through trial and error, through like, you know, just doing it. And I would say that you kind of sharing your knowledge, but not all of it at one time. You got to be able to figure out that can help you over and over again. And if you're really struggling with posts, then I would say create a content calendar. Sit down and say, okay, what will my focus be for this week? Or better yet, what will my focus be for the month? So if you're raising rabbits and I don't know, maybe this is the time where the rabbits are getting pregnant. And I'm not mistaken, they have a pretty quick gestation period. But you could really do a whole series on educating on that and then kind of progress, you know, through the different stages of where that goes. And don't be afraid to showcase your personality as well. You know, yes, you are a farmer and you're raising livestock, but sometimes people want to know about you too. And so, you know, I would say you could go between talking about the livestock, but also talking about how you got into raising rabbits, why you started, like what's your story. I think that's also going to intrigue people, and you'll be surprised how many ideas you can have from that alone. So hopefully that helps.
Absolutely. Those are all fantastic. You could always talk about poop too and how beneficial it is. Like people love it, you know, composting it and how beneficial it is for your farm.
Well, I'm wondering, Sarah, if you raise livestock for meat, because if you do, I mean, that's a really educational situation there too. I mean, because people don't know, like I had someone tell me once, like that rabbits there's something about rabbits and how eating them it's good for the environment. Hopefully I'm not offending you from saying this, but that it's a really good protein to have to eat for the environment because of how much they produce. And so, yeah, I think that people don't know that, and how to prepare meat properly. So,
Absolutely. You'd be surprised. Just assume that people don't know anything. And
yeah,
just
totally.
share like one fact a day. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. You'd be like, this is an American chinchilla and they're rare because, or a history of the breed, or, anything really.
Anything. And then, like I said, you can go in more detail, as time progresses. So don't feel like you have to give everything away at one time. Do bite-sized pieces, which is why everyone loves platforms like TikTok and Reels on Instagram, because it's just enough information to where people feel like they learned something, but they didn't like spend an hour in front of a television to absorb, or reading a book. It's like, oh wow, I just learned something new. That's fantastic.
That's a good point, Paige. Just a really good point.
Absolutely. And you can always take a ton of cute pictures and save them. You don't have to use them all at once. You can save them for like next month.
Pictures. Everyone loves a cute bunny picture.
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is what my daughter comes over once a week and she helps me on the farm. And then she also, we brainstorm as to what the week's reels are going to look like. She has a schedule for when we're doing posts and when we're doing reels and when we're doing stories. I would never do this on my own. I have never done this on my own, but I've really noticed a big difference in our engagement since she has started being more consistent. And it's just, I think it's a good idea just to sort of throw back ideas back. Well, instead, be able to do it together. So I don't know if you've got a friend that maybe you could do that with, or a partner or a child, somebody who cares more than you do about it. That was my problem. I just didn't care enough. But it is helpful. I feel like it's very helpful.
That's good. And another tip is if you are reaching a point where you're like, I really need to have more visibility. I need to like announce something. I would say one post a day is good. I mean, I'm not doing that consistently, but one post a day is great. It's what you should do. But when you're like really trying to make sure that you're getting noticed, you need to boost up to more than once a day. And the reason why I say that is because you really want for people to pay attention to what you have to say. And the platforms will pay attention to that too. They'll be like, whoa, wait a minute, this page is being more like vocal. They're posting more, they're engaging more. And like you will get more visibility because of that. So I do that like around the holidays. Like if I know like, okay, we need to clear freezers, we need to do this, and you'll see my face a couple times just going live, just, hey, here I am. And it's really just because I'm trying to get the attention of our followers, because I know that like when I say something, I need it to be noticed. So like our dinners, for example, I'm like, hey, we're gonna be selling tickets. So you'll probably see my face a lot more around the time that I'm getting ready to sell tickets. No shame, because I know.
Well, speaking of shameless plugs, it's about that time. We're going to wrap things up. Sam was awesome and found the name of the workshop that Paige did. It's called Beef Up Your Farm's Branding and Online Presence Marketing.
It's really worth. You guys should really watch it. It's really worth watching. Paige did a really amazing job.
Yes, you should definitely check it out. Sam, is there anything that you wanted to promote or plug today?
Well, of course, fact. And we're actually at the end of our webinars for the spring, and we will get back into webinars in the fall. We also have a lot of different programming and scholarships and all sorts of different things. We take a little bit of a hiatus in the summer, but we get way back into it in the fall. So we'll have our grants opening up, our mentorship programming opening up in the October-November time period. And you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch past webinars. And, not just Paiges, there are other good ones as well, but Paige is one of the best. So, and then Also, I have a farm in North Carolina, just down the road from Paige, Full City Farm, and any sort of love on social media would be great.
Yeah.
Paige, would you like to promote anything? I've got your website. You can find Paige at
Our website
grassgrazed.com.
is grassgrazed.com. You can follow us on social media. All of the tags are the same, Grass Grazed. If we get our act together, we will start sharing on our podcast that we've started. We just haven't sat down to record consistent episodes. But when we do, it's gonna be so good. So you can
So good.
Yeah, our plan is like we're gonna just knock out a bunch at one time. So that's it. No, I mean I think that's kind of it. We will, if you're in North Carolina, we've been having farm to table dinners called the Farmers Table once a month. So stay tuned for the next one. We may be doing something different. I've been thinking about doing a Mother's Day brunch this time. So I will post it when it happens. So that's it.
All right, that's awesome. I'm going to have to come check one of those out.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'll just say, if you're not a member of the Livestock Conservancy, we'd love to have you join us and help support programming, educational programming like Marketing Mondays and some of our other things that we have going on. It also helps support stewards of rare breeds and people that are raising them. So if you're interested, go to livestockconservancy.org and figure out what level member you'd like to be. We'd love to have you. And a big shout out and thank you to everyone who's already a member and supporting Rare Breed Stewards. We appreciate all of your support. And next month, we'll be back. We'll be talking about next level social media. Paige will be back again. We're so excited. Yay! So think of more questions. Come back, chat them to us. Make sure that we can get all of them answered for you. And we're celebrating International Heritage Breeds Month next month. So talking to all of our international friends that are in the global effort to save rare breeds. We'll be talking to Rare Breeds Australia first. I think that's the first week. So hopefully you'll join us. We'll see you then. I'm continuing to ramble on, but hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. And thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Brittany.
Bye.
Bye.